to have you with us. Let's begin with the top stories of the day. Economic experts point out that paying workers wages that are too low, it not only affects their productivity, but also becomes a burden on the country. Foreigners who participated in the agriculture and livestock exhibition taking place at Murindi in Gasabo district say they are gaining a lot from the exhibition. On the international scene, a powerful new telescope in Chile has released its first images showing off its unprecedented ability to see into the depths of the universe. My name is Olivnet and it's always a pleasure to have you with us. Now let's kick off today's edition. Economic experts point out that paying workers wages that are too low, it not only affects their productivity, but also becomes a burden on the country. This concern arises as some workers, including those in factories, report being underpaid despite the physically demanding nature of their jobs. Adam Squizera kicks us off tonight.
Some factory workers say that the salary they receive do not reflect the intensity of their labor, nor are they sufficient to cover basic needs like health insurance or school fees for their children. They are calling for an increase of wages. Prime Minister Dr. Edouard Ntirene, while recently addressing both chambers of the parliament about the government's efforts to improve citizens' welfare, urged factory owners to pay workers wages that can meaningfully improve their living conditions.
N'abantu bashoramari baza gukora investment mu Rwanda akenshi tubanza kubaza job creation, turabaza ngo okay tuguhaye ikibanza muri special economic zone urakiguze ugiye gutangira ubonye uburenganzira bwo gukora. Most of the investors who come to Rwanda are first required to focus on job creation. Once that is confirmed, we present their case to the cabinet to assess whether the investor is capable of not only creating jobs, but also providing decent employment. We've seen cases where some sets up an industry, but the wages paid to workers fall below the poverty line. For example, some employees earn as little as 30,000 francs per month. In such cases, we urge investors to increase salaries. While this doesn't mean the problem is fully solved, that's why continuous monitoring and follow-up are essential to ensure workers are not paid below the poverty line. Economists explain that paying workers low wages prevent them from improving their lives, which in return makes them a long-term burden on the state. The National Institute of Statistics showed that in 2014, the annual income required for a working person to avoid being considered poor was 159,000 Rwandan francs. By 2024, this amount has increased to 560,000 Rwandan francs per year.
Thank you, Adams. Now, moving ahead, we have a communique from Rwanda from important travel update for flights from the Middle East. Due to the closure of Qatar's airspace, the flights of Rwanda WB300 and WB303 to and from Doha on June 23rd and 24th, 2025 have been cancelled in light of the evolving situation, and for the safety of our passengers and crew, flights to and from Dubai have also been cancelled. They will provide further updates as soon as there are changes to the situation. Passengers who are affected can reschedule their tickets for a later date. They also apologize for any inconvenience caused, and they said to communicate in case of any inconvenience caused, and don't hesitate to contact the reservation team at the reservations@rwandair.com or contact the preferred travel agent for any assistance. Moving ahead, Rwandans who had been temporarily sheltered at the Nyarushishi camp in Rusizi district after returning from the Democratic Republic of Congo have started to be reunited with their families across the country. They express joy at the continued support they are receiving and the opportunity to finally reconnect with their loved ones after many years apart. The Ministry of Emergency Management stated that they will continue to provide support to them and help them integrate into various development programs. To more news, foreigners who participated in the agriculture and livestock exhibition taking place at Murindi in Gasao district say they are gaining a lot from the exhibition. They mentioned that what they have observed will help them continue collaborations with Rwandan farmers and livestock keepers. And Nora Gladys has more on this.
Bertha Mutuna, a Kenyan national who works with environmental conservation technology focused on small insects, specifically bees, says she's learning a lot about Rwandan agriculture, which help her advance this sector in her own country.
Here of much interest is the way you manage your environment, and at least we have been able to copy part of it by starting to use these uhuru bags from here. That is a way of reducing the pollution of the environment by using plastics. So that one we can copy from that side, of course not on the area of insect science research, but it's interesting as a country, the way you are keeping your country clean by make sure there is no pollution by the wastes from the plastics.
Dr. Patrick Karangwa, the Director General of Agriculture Modernization at the Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources, says the participation of foreigners in this exhibition is a great boost for Rwanda's agriculture sector.
Rimaze kuba ubukombe ryagiye rikura ryaguka rigeze ubwo ryitabirwa ndetse n'ibihugu byinshi.
This exhibition, which has become well established over time, has continued to expand and is now attended by many countries. Participants from various nations have increasingly been taking part, including those from Tanzania, Chad, Cameroon, Nigeria, Kenya, Gabon, and India. They told us that they don't want to miss out on this opportunity. In the 5 days since it began, the Agriculture and Livestock Exhibition has been visited by over 20,000 people and attended by more than 500 exhibitors, including foreigners from 7 different countries.
Thank you, Enora. To more news, while many young people today spend hours scrolling through social media platforms, a growing number are rediscovering the joy and benefits of reading books. We have details on this story. In libraries across the country, shelves are filled with knowledge and inspiration, yet often go untouched. Some youths still see reading as boring or reserved for the highly educated, but others are working to change that perception by leading through example and encouraging their peers to read. Antoine Isingize and Mika Imulan enjoy reading books related to their professions as a way to expand their knowledge. They encourage their peers to adopt the same habit. When I come here, I use the internet to do research in different areas. I also read books related to my field of study whenever I need to. Reading books is very important to me because it broadens my understanding. Experts often say that to gain deep knowledge, one must read. Dorcas Uwera, a librarian at Club Rafiki, says the library is visited by people of different age groups. She calls on parents to introduce their children to reading at an early age so they can grow up with the culture of reading. Here we also support young children in developing reading habits, especially on Saturdays. For those in nursery, we read them storybooks, while all the children in primary school are given age-appropriate books. I also help those who can't read yet, whether in Kinyarwanda or English, to learn how to read. I believe that as we continue doing this, more children are coming in since they go and tell their friends at school. We've seen the numbers grow, and it's been going well. Statistics from the National Library indicate that it receives over 200 visitors per day, the majority of whom are youth. Everyone is encouraged to develop a reading culture because it helps in acquiring knowledge through the various books they read. To matters related to commemoration, over 300 construction experts from 15 African countries are currently in Rwanda attending a 7-day international conference in Kigali. The aim of the conference is to exchange ideas on the development of construction and creating people-friendly cities. Before beginning the conference, the more than 300 experts visited the Kigali Genocide Memorial at Gisozi, where they were given a brief on the history of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. They also learned how Rwanda managed to rebuild itself after the genocide. Still on matters related to commemoration, the governor of the Western Province urged residents of this region, particularly those in Rusizi district, to stay away from divisive behaviors, as such behaviors are a key threat to the progress that Rwanda has achieved. This was reiterated on during the 31st commemoration of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, held at Nyarushishi Hill in Rusizi. We have details.
Nyarushishi Hill was the site where many Tutsi were gathered during the genocide under the pretense of being protected, what was called providing them security. However, survivors explained this was a tactic to concentrate them in one place in order to make mass killing easier.
The plan to bring us here was to lie to us that they were going to protect us, when instead they had an evil plan to ensure that even those hiding would come out, thinking there was a hope for rescue. They rode us here to this hill so they could exterminate us more.
Survivors who made it out of Nyarushishi expressed deep appreciation for the bravery of the RPA soldiers who came to their rescue at a time when hope for survival had completely faded, especially after being abandoned by those they had trusted to protect them. The commemoration event began with a night of remembrance honoring the hardships endured at Nyarushishi. Lohanda Gijimana, speaking on behalf of the president of Ibuka, called on survivors to make the most of the opportunities the country now provides.
You have been given the chance to achieve the dreams that others longed for. You are now in a country that values and cares for you. Make use of that opportunity. That's how you become productive for yourselves and honor the memory of those who are no longer with us.
Governor of the Western Province, Jean Bosco Ntibitura, emphasized the importance of promoting unity, starting within families.
Residents of Rusizi district and our friends, let's also play our part in supporting the government's strategies to build a Rwandan unity and to fight against genocide and its ideology. Let our families be centers where values of Rwandan culture and unity are taught.
Nyarushishi Hill was home to a camp that once sheltered over 8,000 Tutsi who had survived killings in the former Cyangugu prefecture and were located in the Turquoise zone. Today, the hill hosts the Rusizi district genocide memorial site, which holds the bodies of 8,559 victims, including one who was laid to rest on the day of the commemoration.
Still on local matters, now to the health sector, as more new mothers silently battle emotional struggles after childbirth, mental health experts are calling for early medical intervention to protect not only the mother's well-being, but also the child's development and the stability of the entire family. We have more on this story. For many women, childbirth is expected to bring joy and fulfillment, but for some new mothers, it marks the beginning of an unexpected emotional battle. Mental health experts are raising concerns about postpartum depression, a condition that often goes unnoticed and untreated, yet can have serious consequences on the well-being of the mother, her child, and the entire family.
ndi nkaho ndi njyenyine n'umuntu na papa wiwe
When I had my first child, I felt so lonely. His father wasn't around. The baby cried a lot at night. The doctor told me to keep breastfeeding, but at first it was painful. The crying would continue all night, and I ended up crying too. It becomes overwhelming, especially when you are alone. No one to care for you at the hospital or at home. It was really hard. It happened to me too. I became depressed. Breastfeeding, especially for first-time mothers, can be very challenging. Sometimes the baby struggles to latch, and when they can't get milk, they cry. Seeing your child cry and knowing that they are not feeding properly is heartbreaking, and it affects you too. Lucine Zaramba, an expert in mental health, explains some of the causes of postpartum depression and how it can be prevented.
Postpartum depression, PPD.
The postpartum depression occurs when a woman gives birth, a change in mindset, and sometimes they feel sad or not feel the same anymore in terms of feelings after giving birth. It is something that happens to so many mothers, most especially those giving birth for the very first time, because after giving birth, there are 3 changes that happen in them: biological changes, emotional psychological changes, and also in the lifestyle changes. The postpartum depression exists in different stages. In severe cases, the mother's mood and behavior change drastically, and therapy or medication is necessary. But mild cases can often be treated through counseling, especially when the mother has support from someone to guide her through the process. Postpartum depression can be triggered by a combination of factors, including hormonal changes after childbirth, extreme fatigue, and the emotional toll of lacking adequate support. Mental health experts emphasize that with proper treatment and care, recovery is possible.
During life's moments, playing hoops, giving away, making moves, breakfast with family. Inyanje is always there. Whatever the occasion, whatever the moment, always ask for Inyanje.
Nyiri muto arababwiraga data bati ntabwo wagira umukamo mwinshi utunze inka imwe, ariko nigeze acika intege. Mama akinjira mu bucuruzi hari abamubwiraga bati ntabwo watera imbere udakorera mu iduka rigezweho, ariko ntibyamusubije inyuma, yakoranaga umwete. Njya muri kaminuza hari abanshidikanyagaho bavuga ko nashobora kaminuza naturuka mu muryango wifashisha, ariko byarangiye nanditse amateka mashya. Igihe cyo gutera ishema umuryango wanjye kigeze, bamwe bakomeje kumbwira bati ntabwo watera umuryango wawe ibyishimo n'ishema, ariko narabishoboye. Hari abakekaga ko nasigira umurage ukomeye abankomokaho, ariko ubu mfite uruganda rutunganya amata. Banki ya Kigali yabaye umufatanyabikorwa wanjye mu rugendo rwose, inzozi zanjye ziba impamo. Bigereho.
Muyobozi wa sosiyete, turakwibutsa ko buri sosiyete isabwa n'itegeko kubika ibitabo bya sosiyete ndetse no gushyikiriza RDB amakuru abikubiyemo. Ibyo bitabo birimo igitabo cy'abanyamigabane, icy'abagenewe inyungu ku migabane, inyandiko y'amakuru ya sosiyete, ibaruramari ngarukamwaka n'izindi. Gutanga amakuru y'ugenewe inyungu ku migabane wanyura kuri bo.rdb.rw, naho gutanga izindi nyandiko ukanyura kuri org.rdb.rw.
The You're still watching RTV News. Now to matters making headlines globally. A powerful new telescope in Chile has released its first images showing off its unprecedented ability to see into the depths of the universe. In one picture, vast, colorful gas and dust clouds swirl in a star-forming region 9,000 light years from Earth. BBC has the details.
This is the night sky like it's never been seen before. These are the first images released by the Vera C. Rubin Observatory, home to the most powerful new telescope in the world. The BBC was granted early access to see it up close before the images were made public. It sits on a mountain in the Chilean desert. Very high, very dry, very dark. It's a perfect spot to watch the stars. And that darkness is sacred.
Watch your steps on this box. There's a whole engineering unit dedicated to making sure this dome is dark.
It uses 3 mirrors to gather light from the universe and reflect it onto a camera. Capturing a lot of light is key to detecting faint objects, like galaxies from billions of years ago.
We want to go really deep and observe things that are from really far away, which essentially means in astronomy that they're from earlier times. When I first started working with this project, I met with someone who had been working on it since 1996, and I was born in 1997. So it's really humbling on one side, but also it makes you realize that this is like an endeavor of a generation of astronomers.
Key to capturing these images is the telescope's digital camera, the biggest ever made. At 3,200 megapixels, it is so high resolution it could capture a golf ball on the moon.
If you took your finger and held it at arm's reach and put it up to the sky, potentially, depending on where you're looking at, tens of thousands of galaxies will fit into that one little portion of the sky that is covered by your finger. And now imagine that over the entire southern sky, we're getting an unprecedented data set, not just of galaxies, but of variable stars and near-Earth objects as well.
It will take an image about every 40 seconds for 8 to 12 hours a night.
So what we have here is a colorized pair of merging galaxies. My laptop screen hardly does it justice, but I hope that gives you a sense of scale of what we're looking at, even nightly.
Documenting galaxies, stars and asteroids as they move and change, capturing the distant past and present, to help scientists understand both what's in the universe and where it came from.
The design of Rubin Observatory has been driven by 4 science goals: probing the nature of dark energy and dark matter, exploring the transient optical sky, taking an inventory of the solar system, and mapping the Milky Way. And so what that really means is that we've built a telescope that is a discovery machine. It will also be able to bring to light questions that we haven't even thought about yet. It will open up the unknown. And that's probably the thing that I'm most excited about with Rubin Observatory.
This 10-year survey of the night sky hasn't yet begun, but the telescope's first images have already excited scientists about the knowledge it will unlock.
Now, this brings us to the end of tonight's bulletin, but before we leave, a reminder of the top stories that made this edition. Economic experts point out that paying workers wages that are too low, it not only affects their productivity, but also becomes a burden on the country. Foreigners who participated in the agriculture and livestock exhibition taking place at Murindi in Gasao district say they are gaining a lot from the exhibition. On the international scene, a powerful new telescope in Chile has released its first images showing off its unprecedented ability to see into the depths of the universe. And that marks the end of today's bulletin. Thank you for joining us on behalf of the entire news team. We wish you a productive week ahead. Goodbye and take care.